I mean, I do remember when I was not eating well, thinking it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter. Like if you have a piece of pizza or two or six, the effect is the same. Like you're big, you're going to be bigger. I mean, what's the difference in a way? And it's easy to get in that mindset, I think.
That was Leslie Battle, and this is the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. Welcome back, you guys. Episode 4 right here, right now, with me and you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for sharing it with your friends, and thanks for sending us comments, questions, and topics for future episodes. We're going to be coming at you every Friday with a launch of a new podcast, and today's guest is pretty awesome, and I think that she is really representative of what we want to share with you guys on this podcast. People who are living against the grain of society, who are transforming their lives, living in alignment with their purpose, and believing in themselves no matter how hard that is. So today is our friend Leslie, and are you ready for this? She is the 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 Athena 40 plus USAT national champion in Olympic distance triathlon. She is the 2014 Athena 40 to 55 USAT national champion in sprint distance triathlon and an esteemed member of the 2015 Team USA in standard distance duathlon. And would you guess that at the beginning of her triathlon career, less than 10 years ago, she was pushing almost 300 pounds on the scale? This woman is a competitor and a champion through and through. In this episode, she opens up about her transformation, her struggles with believing in herself, and why she's not afraid to post her fat pictures for all to see. She brings a unique perspective to a sport that I have always felt to be an inclusive, supportive community, but she shows me a different side that many of us have never experienced. Describing her as strong is an understatement. She has faced many obstacles, but somehow she keeps picking herself up and landing on the top of the podium. She is a shining advocate for the Athena competitors, having created an entire online community steeped in support and inspiration. Leslie is an open book and very generous with what she shares with the YT community, and we're grateful for her words as we know she will serve as inspiration for our listeners. So I'm so excited to share her with you today, but first, you know we're going to Lake Placid next month for our training retreat. It's actually like 3 weeks away at this point. It's going to be even closer by the time this podcast launches. And today, what I want to announce is that we are doing a giveaway in conjunction with our buddies over at Lululemon. So if you register for the camp, and I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you can get all the deets on this awesome retreat. But if you register between the launch of this podcast, which is going to be Friday, May 27th, and the launch of the next podcast, which is going to be Friday, June 3rd, if you register for the camp between that time frame, you're going to make yourself eligible to win a Ride the High Vibe t-shirt or tank, along with an awesome Lululemon yoga mat and strap combo. This yoga mat, I've got this, and so does BJ. And you can stick a down dog on this thing like never before. So get yourself registered for the camp and get yourself eligible for this awesome package. We want to spend time with you next month in the beautiful Adirondacks, and we cannot wait for this retreat. So speaking of not being able to wait for things, without further ado, I want to just usher you right into this awesome episode with our friend Leslie Battle.
It was called the Do the Speedway up in Thompson, Connecticut.
So you're on so in Thompson, Connecticut, and you're on like a race speedway, like a car race speedway.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
what are the distances?
It was a 1.7 mile loop. So we ran the same course that you did the bike on. So it was 1.7 and then 10.8 and then 1.7 again.
And you're doing the whole thing. You're running on the track. You're
Yeah.
biking on the track.
Which is
the
kind
whole
of
thing.
dangerous, actually. There's one woman who was 80 years old. I was so impressed with her.
I would think it's dangerous.
She had zip wheels, 80 years old.
Nice.
And she was going like, I don't know, 12 miles an
Love
hour.
her.
Or something.
I'm gonna be. That's the woman I want to be.
Totally loved her. But she was walking the run, but in the middle of the track. And like we're zipping around like 20, 25 miles an hour. you know,
Yeah, how did that work? Like, you stay on the inside for the run?
theoretically, because she was the last one, like it worked out because of the run, and then the way the bike. Most people were done with the run by the time the bikes came through, but the slower people,
Yeah, if you're walking.
yeah, they were kind of in the mix of it. So I wouldn't have liked that, but I mean, you knew they were there, and it wasn't that big of a field, so it wasn't that bad.
So, and I know you won overall today, overall female.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. And so, as far as like a duathlon for you, like time wise, or do you, it's so hard, I think, to compare race to race because, I mean, you're on a speedway, you can be off trail, you can be, on the road. So for you, like time wise and things like that, how do you feel about today?
Well, I had one person in my sights who's a friend of mine, and she had done the race last year, and I hadn't done it. I had no expectations because I'd never done this race before, and she was the only person I wanted to, quasi beat.
Yeah.
So her time was 56 minutes, and so I came in at 54. So I
Nice.
was happy with that. When I finished, I had no idea I had won the overall. I was happy with winning Athena. I was happy with. I knew there was. I won the 45 to 49, and so I was like, well. Then I sort of looked, I was like, well, maybe I'm second, because I thought I was second. And then they called the podium, and I was like, well, wait a minute, that's kind of funny.
That's amazing. That's so cool. But this isn't the first race you've won, right?
No. It was actually kind of funny, though. Both times that I've won the overall, as you know, I race as an Athena. And this particular race director today, she does know me, and she's known that I've won things before. But when they called the awards today, they had somebody else in first. And I was like, wait a minute. I know I was in front of her, and they called somebody else in second, and I thought I had second, and so I asked the race director, hold on the awards, and she said, I was just looking for the first overall female. I wasn't looking for an Athena to be the overall. And so she looked in the results and said, oh no, you were actually first overall. And so they redid all the awards, and I got the medal and everything like that. But it's kind of funny because, as we spoke, Jessica, a little bit about what it means to me to be an Athena.
Yes.
And I like racing as an Athena to sort of, represent, strong athletes and strong women. And I have a little hashtag I put on a lot of my my posts. It's called "Don't Rule Us Out."
Oh, I love that.
Because people sometimes look at Athena athletes because, again, we're 165 pounds or more. You can be 6'3", you can be, whatever height you are, but at least you're 165 pounds. But in terms of what a traditional triathlete looks like, no, we don't generally look like that. And so I think it's kind of special when, someone, and I'm not saying just for me, because there's other people around the country who do the same thing on a daily basis, that just don't count us out. And there's a lot of times that does happen.
Well, it sounds like it
kind of isolated.
Sounds like it was kind of happening today. Like I wasn't expecting.
Happen.
Yeah, it did happen today. So
yeah, the first race that I won, it was down the Cape, and it was actually a little bit more embarrassing. Like I saw my name at the top of the list, and the race director came over before awards, and he called over the PA saying, "Would Leslie Battle come to the awards table before we start awards?" And I was like, "Gosh, what did I do?" And he actually challenged me and said, "Did you do the whole course and things like that?" And so luckily I had my Garmin, and actually I race a lot. So I had done this, it was a sprint, and I ran the sprint on a Saturday, and then I ran it again on a Sunday. And my time on the Sunday when I won the overall was an all women's race. It was actually slower than the day before when I ran it as the co-ed race. So, I mean, it was plausible and it was factual that I actually did win. But both times it's kind of like, kind of puts a tarnish on.
Yeah, well, it takes the wind out of your sails, right? That they bring. When else would they do that? Like they wouldn't do that to me.
No.
I wouldn't think that they would do that to me, just a woman racing in 40 to 44, like a small, petite woman. So that's really interesting. Like when we were talking last night, you were opening me up to this whole perspective of what it is to race as an Athena, and that there's a whole community of people out there that, and just doing a little bit of research on you, that you're considered to be quite an advocate for the Athenas.
Yeah, I don't know how that really happened. I started this Facebook page, I want to say, this is my 7th year in triathlon, so maybe I started it my 2nd year. And I was looking at the article that was in USA Triathlon magazine 2 years ago, and in that article it said that there was 180 members of the
I read that article today too, and I thought 180, and then I went and I looked, and it was like over 1,300
There's 1,300 women now, and some of my best friends are in the group, and we talk on a daily basis about, all things related to triathlon, and even not. Things like getting respect at the doctor's office when you're a larger athlete and they don't believe you that you're actually an athlete, or trying to get support from your husband or your relatives when they don't perceive you as a legitimate athlete, thinking you're going to get hurt or you're going to get sick. To me, it's really important to have that sense of community, because I remember when I first started, I'll call it this go around in sport. I was an athlete in high school. I ran track and such, but law school, college, that all went aside, and I gained a lot of weight. So I sort of start my athletic career as an adult in around 2008. And so I ran my first half marathon. I just went through a breakup, and I was trying to get back to the me that I knew before the relationship. And so I went to the gym 3 times, and I said, I can do a half marathon, because my brain said I could. My body didn't reflect that.
But how did you, right, so, and we know, I mean, in Yogi Triathlete, it's all about the mind, right? Like, we can do anything with the mind. We can sabotage ourselves. We can DNF from the mind. We can finish the race. We can win the race from the mind. Like, and we always say that anybody can get the physical. I really believe that people can go out and they can get that physical training in, but it's that mental discipline. It's that will to set that goal and focus on it and say, I can do that, and believe in yourself. Like, so many of us, we don't believe in ourselves. And I think that you're bringing such a, that message so strongly to your group. But my question is, like, so you're at the gym, and you had mentioned to me that it wasn't a great relationship that you were in. And I can relate to that. I mean, I never, I had 3 boyfriends in my life. I married the 3rd. The first one was amazing, and the second one was a nightmare, just verbally abusive. And so to get out of that and to have the strength to walk away from that, and I'm not saying that that's how your relationship was, but you said it wasn't like a great relationship, but to have that strength to walk out of it, then hit the gym, then say, I'm going to do a half marathon. Like, where did the half marathon come from?
You know, I honestly don't remember. I just knew that I wanted to do it, and I remember going up to the desk to sign up, and I think I signed up the day before.
Were they running it through like the gym you were training
No,
at?
this was the Cox Providence
okay.
half marathon.
Yep.
I don't know why, but I figured, like, my mind perceived myself as more fit than I actually was, because during this relationship I was sort of diminished, and everything that I wanted to do was like, oh, that's too expensive, or you're being too extravagant.
Yep.
So I sort of chipped away at myself as who I was.
Of course.
I woke up, and one day I was not myself. And so this was part of I'm getting back to who I knew who I was. And so I went and I signed up for this race, and the woman at the desk said, well, you want to do the 5K? And I said, no, I'm doing the half marathon. And she looked at me like, what? Now, I was well over 250 pounds, closer to 300 pounds. So I was determined to make the cutoff. It was 3.5 hours, and I came in at 3:28. And it was great, and it was not so great. I remember 2 things. Beginning of the race, as I'm jogging by, this guy turns to his person who was with, and he said, gosh, all kinds of people do these races. And it kind of fueled me, because I didn't see who it was, but I heard him say that comment. And then at the end of the race, when I was trying to get there for the 3:30 time, there was lots of families there and friends there welcoming and cheering them on. And I looked around, and there was nobody there for me. And there was nobody. And I was just the fat girl who made it to the line, and there was no hoorah, there was no balloons. I knew I had accomplished what I set out to do, but I just felt alone. And so the next year I started to do, I think I had a friend who had done the Providence triathlon, and
that said that 70.3.
Yeah, the 70.3.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of piqued my interest, but I wasn't a triathlete. I don't think I even owned a bike. And then I had a bunch of friends who wanted to do a triathlon, a sprint, because everybody was turning 40. And so it just kind of got in my head. But my whole thing with the Athenas is, like, I felt so alone and so, like, distant, like, so, like, excluded from.
And you had just done this amazing thing, and that support wasn't there for you.
Exactly. And so I kind of swore that I would do what I could so that no Athena, no big girl, would feel that way. And I've even done that, like, at races. I've like waited till the last person come in.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm saying, oh my God, you're awesome. And they think I'm a freak at first, I think. And then I tell them about the Athena page, and it's sort of grown by kind of viral and my word of mouth and things like that. And there's so many like people I've gotten to know, more so like during races, but also through Facebook. I mean, one woman I met her at the Fantastic Nantasket. She just had a baby, and I remember meeting her like during the race. I was coming up behind her really fast on the bike, and she had this awesome set of legs, and she was like a CrossFitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, you have like the best legs. And I'm saying this at like 25 miles an hour as I'm passing her, and she's like, well, all the good is doing me because you're passing me like I'm standing still. And so after the race, I waited and met her, and she's great and all that. But that was years ago. That was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I saw her get married. I saw her have a baby now, and it's just like that whole sense of community that that you should build. And I really love that about the sport of triathlon.
I love that about the sport of triathlon. For me, the way I describe it is that it's the racers, the crowd. It's like there's the attack cat. What should I do? It's in my
just push her aside.
She's in my lap.
Move her on.
Love it. Just move along, kitty cat number 1. What I love about it is that everybody wants you to succeed. And so I've never seen it from your eyes, and you just painted that picture of me of you finishing the half marathon. And I am somebody who will, especially at smaller races and especially at the really big races like the Ironmans, like I love going to those midnight finishers. That's amazing. But I love the community and the support that you get from the fellow triathletes, from the crowd. And it's like in those moments, and as an athlete, you fuel so much from the crowd support. But I feel like in those moments, it shows me who we truly are, which we truly are, like this oneness. Like we truly are in service of each other. We truly are there to support each other. And that's one thing that I love, love, love so much about the sport. And to hear this experience that you had racing as an Athena, and of course it was like before your dramatic weight loss that you had, and you had posted a picture not too long ago of that, and you look completely different. But to know that you are, pioneering and creating this community for people who, may have had that same experience, or helping them to not have that experience by just through the social media support group is so huge, what you're doing for the sport. And what you're showing me is like your true nature too, which is to be in service, which is to support, which is, to go out and have fun and race against your friends and still be friends at the finish line.
Exactly. So I don't view it as like my group. I view it as our group and
yeah.
our cause. Like we've had a lot of challenges, like with USAT, which is the governing body of triathlon.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about this, that you were lobbying for them that at the nationals, did they have the Clydesdale and the Athenas in the same group, like same starting group or category?
Well, what they did back, I want to say it's now 3 years ago, they basically had the Athena and the Clydesdales they were able to compete at age group nationals, and it was just another division. For good or for bad, someone decided to split the Athena Clydesdales into its own nationals, into a separate event.
Oh, a separate event.
So it's at a different time, it's at a different place. There's a lot of, at least to the first go around, there was a lot of different inequities. For example, in 2014, I believe, I won the sprint and the Olympic distance national champions. But for the past couple years, they run the events at the same exact time, so you can't double up, you can't double dip. In any other age group, you can go to long course nationals, you can go to sprint nationals, you can go to Olympic nationals, and you have opportunities to race at every distance and win a national title.
As you should.
But
yes.
That's not available to Athenas and Clydesdales. There's other things that, we had gone back and forth. And I'm not saying that I'm not appreciative of what USAT has done to try to elevate the presence and the recognition of Athena and Clydesdale athletes, but it does a little bit appear as an inequity. For example, I want to say it was 2013 in Wisconsin, when I was going up to get my award, a woman said, "Oh, good for you." She said, do Athenas, do you guys run the same distance that we do?" And it's sort of, again, it puts like a whole big damper on like you're like, I really just earned a national title, and you're
asking me
disrespecting me.
Yeah, you're asking me if I did the whole course.
Yeah, so it's just the perception, and that's why some of the other hashtags I kind of threw out for that people use all the time now. It's one is Athena Pride, and the other one is Athena Strong.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's about respecting yourself and getting respect from others, because a lot of times people will look down at Athena as not relevant, and it is relevant. I mean,
of course,
there's more people who are the average size woman is a size 14 in the United States, whether you're athletic or not, it's a size 14. There's a lot of, challenges that we face, but I mean, I think the tides are changing a little bit. I mean, again, we've grown to, 10 times in the past 2 years, and there's plenty more people out there who, just probably aren't even aware that we have a very cohesive little group.
Yeah. I mean, and when I look at, when I'm at like the half Ironman and Ironman distance, which is primarily the races that we go to, I want to say some of the largest growing population are, people who are going through major life transformations, who are losing a lot of weight, who just lost a lot of weight, and they're coming to fulfill this life's dream. And so you would think, and I don't know the numbers on it. I don't know if you know the numbers on it as far as like how it's growing or anything, but I mean, it seems to me that especially at these bigger, longer distance events, I'm seeing more and more and more of people that don't have that quote unquote perfect triathlon, body type.
But it's kind of funny though. I mean, again, this is my 7th year, and yeah, I've lost 100 pounds, blah, blah, blah. But it's taken me a long time to accept that, this body that I'm in right now, maybe this is as good as it gets. And you know what? That's not so bad. Like, no. I mean, I do what I need to do. I'm competitive, and again, don't count us out. And I think for a lot of people, they look at larger athletes as, oh, they're on a weight loss journey. Well, no, they're just athletes, just like you and me, and their body is just the way it is. Maybe that person, that athlete, is content at 200 pounds. Maybe that's as fit as they're going to get. That's just the way it is, and that's okay. And I think greater understanding and acceptance of that needs to be had. I remember I was going to when I went to look for a tri-bike, the first store I went to was a local bike store, and I was looking at it was a Cannondale Slice, and I didn't know anything about bikes. I was just interested in looking, and the clerk had said to me, well, are you sure you want a triathlon bike? You really need a strong core for that. And I'm thinking, I have money to spend. I came into your store telling you I want a triathlon bike, and here you're trying to convince me out of it. I'm doing triathlons, and I need a triathlon bike.
Right.
So I end up going to a different store completely. Again, but it's those little things that are transformative in your head that it's endemic around the whole industry of sport, that people just don't think that Athena Clydesdales are relevant, and it's maddening. And I was at the this was in Arkansas, the national championship, and you wouldn't hardly know it was a national championship by the lack of fanfare, lack of signage, lack of anything.
Now, is this the national championship that was just Athena and Clydesdale?
It was, but it's run as part of. They're usually run as part of another event. So, for example, like you have a regular local triathlon, and then they tack on the Athena Clydesdale too.
Yeah, I just want to just stop here for 1 second. What is the response from USAT for why they separated it? Because that just doesn't even seem to make any sense to me.
We heard a lot of reasons, and we went back and forth with a lot of leaders, we'll call them, in the Athena Clydesdale ranks, and they came up with a lot of reasons. They were saying greater visibility, greater, it was their version of, we're trying to make it more welcoming. One of the other things they had mentioned was that you can't race at an ITU race if you, as a Clydesdale or an Athena, which is true. They don't have Athena Clydesdale at ITU. But one of my points was that unless you race at both events, the age group nationals and Athena Clydesdales, as an Athena Clydesdale, you will never get the chance to qualify for Team USA unless you go to age group nationals. Winning the overall at Athena Clydesdales is fantastic.
It's kind of the end point.
But it's the end. It's the end. So what I was annoyed at the presumption that no Athena or Clydesdale could qualify for Team USA, which I know is untrue. I'm not the only one who's done it. It's just kind of lack of acknowledgement on certain people's part. So last year, actually it was 2 years ago.
So getting back to greater visibility, tell me about this race.
So it was in Minnesota, I believe. I went to for the Nationals for duathlon, and I really went just to prove a point that as an Athena, I could qualify for Team USA. And I ended up coming in 12th place and qualified for Team USA.
Nice.
And ended up going to Adelaide, Australia last year, which I hate traveling more than anything, but I really wanted the people at USAT to see my face with my Team USA kit with my name written on the back to say, here I am, like, you know who I am, and I am here on your precious Team USA as an Athena, and I'm representing. Now, I didn't have the best race. I was sick, but it doesn't matter. Like, that's, again, don't count us out and give us the opportunity. And that's why I think it's kind of a disservice to have this two separate national championships. Like, again, triathlon's an expensive sport. Like, there's no other age group. Like, you don't take the 80 to 84 age group and give them their own national championship and say, well, you can't qualify for ITU unless you do 2 races. You have to go to Colorado and you have to go to, Burbank. I mean, like, no one else has to do that, but we do. And fortunately, like, for someone like me, I've actually have experienced age group nationals. I've experienced Athena Clydesdale nationals. There's differences. Yeah. There's differences. But I think having a voice, being polite, getting understanding, and acknowledgement is important. And I think that it can only, in the end, do us well.
And you had mentioned, I'm not sure if it was, I think it was when we were talking on the phone last night about, and it might even be this race that you were just talking about, but just like the signage was very little to none. And so so getting back to that, like, we want to give you greater visibility. It seems like at that race specifically that you wouldn't have known that this championship was happening.
You wouldn't have known it was a national championship at all. Now, for example, in Arkansas, I think I mentioned that we were walking to the start and the race director or the announcer had said, there goes the Athenas and the Clydesdales. We think they're going to have a ton of fun. And it was just so degrading and so insulting. Like, here we are. This is the cream of the crop. We've come here to race. We've paid our money. We've paid our dues. We deserve the respect as any other national, contender for a national title. You don't deserve to be belittled. Now, USAT did a good thing because usually they have 2-year contracts, and that particular venue they didn't go back to, so they went to Michigan, and Michigan was a little bit better. That's where it is again this year. But again, things like when they announce the awards, the Athena Clydesdales are usually last, but this is a national championship. You should make fanfare about this. These are
right.
It should go first, and because that's what it is. Like, it should have banners. You should have balloons like they do at like even duathlon national championships. There was banners, there was balloons, there was finisher medals. We didn't get finisher medals.
Wow.
And there's I
think they're all of this, for whatever reason, because I always believe that there's no mistakes, right? That all of this has been divinely gifted for this particular group of people to literally make you Athena strong. I mean, because it takes like a strong backbone to just keep moving on. When you hear things like that, like, oh, they're going to have a lot of fun there, like you're just going to bob around in the water. When what we're talking about is a national championship, and this is the best of the best and the fittest of the fit. It's just a number. It's the number on the scale that puts you, just like the number on my birth certificate puts me in a certain age group.
Exactly. So I don't want to say it's all bad. I mean, I think UST is doing a good enough job with just awareness, just even having the issue on the table. So I think that's progress.
Yes.
But I think grassroots, I think it's very more important to have the athletes themselves believe in themselves and become their own best advocates. Like, things that drive me nuts when people say, oh, I got 4th place or I got 3rd place. No, you earned 3rd place. You worked just as hard. Then people will say, oh, well, there was only 3 people in my division. Well, okay, nobody needs to know that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's who shows up at the race is who you're racing against. Mm-hmm. It's not this person could have come and they did it last year and they were faster, so if they were here, I would have lost. And that's like this self-sabotage. I see it in all ages.
It drives me nuts.
It's like, celebrate what you did right now in this moment with who was available for you to race against.
Exactly. People don't remember where you place. Like, your friends who don't do triathlon, they'll say, how'd you do? And you say, I really, I messed up my transition, or I didn't do X, Y, and Z. If you come in and you say, you know what? I raced to the peak of my training and I earned 2nd place, Athena. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Your friends will remember your exuberance. They'll remember your pride in yourself. They'll remember your hard work and achievement. And they'll tell their friends, I have a friend who's a triathlete and she just came in 2nd in a race. Isn't she awesome?
Yeah.
But if you come in with like remember it was Bill Cosby. He was talking to his daughter, and this is the Cosby Show, okay? And she was hiding her relationship with this guy, and then she finally told him, and she's like, "But don't you love him? Can't you love him now?" And he said, "No, listen, you could bring me the biggest, juiciest steak, onions on a plate with potatoes, and it could be savory, be delicious. But you serve it up to me on a dirty lid of a trash can, and that's how I'm going to remember it. It's going to always be tainted by that trash can." So what I say is embrace your performance. Like, you embrace yourself. Like, I ran that 11-minute mile. That was my first 11-minute mile, and aren't I fantastic? Don't compare yourself to somebody else, because it's irrelevant. Like, if that was your PR, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you should own it and have everyone be like, yeah, that's awesome, because it's all relative. I mean,
it's all relative.
It's all meaningless too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a hobby. I mean, really.
Right. Nobody's paying you to do it. I always say that. Nobody's paying me to do it. In fact, I'm paying a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
And anytime I would, finish any race, if, I kind of looked at, and living in Boulder, so we lived in Boulder, and I was always the slowest. I mean, it was, you know what, I'm not going to say that. I wasn't always the slowest. I wasn't the last person to finish the race, but out of all of our friends, I would get whooped all the time. And I would really kind of beat myself up about that inside. And I remember a time where I just remember saying I would give anything to run in the single digits, right? And so then once you get that landmark, and now you're like, okay, you're running 9s, you're running 8s, whatever that looks like, and then you maybe don't have a great race, you don't run as fast. I'll always, like, as soon as my ego wants to come in and beat me up, I always remember that, like, remember that time, and remember how big that was to just run under 10-minute miles, like, and never forget, like, that this is all hard work and discipline. And it's not just that race day. It's like saying no to all those obligations, things, or social things, or we always call it, like, we go into a social coma, like, just nobody's going to see us. Bless our families, because they hardly ever see us when we're in training. And it's just all that discipline and everything that goes into it. So I think for a fellow triathlete to hear another triathlete say that, for me, like, when you say, like, I got second place, like, for me, it's when people say, oh, it was just a sprint, or it was just a 5K. I'm like,
right.
That does not matter at all. Are you kidding me? Like,
sprints are harder.
Oh my gosh, they are so much harder. So much harder. I'm like, anytime I'm doing like a 5K, I'm like, I just wish I was running a marathon right now.
Yeah.
Like, at least I could go. It's the different kind of hurt. It's that hurt in the center of your chest where you're like, I don't think I can get the breath in, but you're still pushing as hard as you can. There's nothing about that is just a 5K or just a sprint.
I have the fortune of working with Amy Rice, who's my coach right now.
Yes, I know Amy. I've met her. She came to my yoga class before.
Yeah. She makes me do yoga, which,
I love it. Yes, I remember she was, when I was a massage therapist, she was coaching a client of mine. And my client said, oh, yeah, my coach wants me to go to yoga. And I was like, who's this coach? I want to meet her. And anyway, she came to my class one day and introduced herself. So it was really nice to meet her. And I just thanked her for that, because I think that yoga is so important. It's like the one-stop shop. You get the mental, you get the physical, you get the relaxation, you get everything. It's so important for triathletes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of, like, the hot, sweaty kind of.
That's the stuff I teach. So
the pools and pools of yoga. But I mean, it has its time and a place for everything. And again, I guess type A, not used to not being good at something, and so it's that whole thing with yoga is just me, and then there's no balloons at the end. It's just kind of namaste.
Yeah, namaste. There's no end point to that practice.
Yeah.
It's a life practice. And when I tell my students that, it's not the pose. I could care less what your pose looks like. As long as you're safe, and I'll look at your body and make sure you're safe. It's about, can you be messy in that pose? Can you not really know what you're doing in that pose and be okay with it? And that's where the yoga is. It's that contentment in all things, which I think is so important to take onto the race course, because there's times on the race course where you're in pain, like physical pain. And how can you just be okay with that? Just letting that sensation move through your body and watching how the mind wants to label it and say, oh my God, this hurts so bad, which is not helpful. It's not helpful.
Yeah. Well, one of my mantras is run faster, done faster.
Yeah, run. I love that. Run faster, done faster.
Amy doesn't really love that one, but She's been really good for me. I remember, like, I think I posted something on Facebook that I just need to, if I could swim, then I could be dangerous. And she reached out to me and said, well, I can teach you how to swim. And I said, well, many have tried, many have failed. So we've been together, I want to say, it's probably been like a year and a half now. And I'm swimming. I think I'm stronger in the swim. So, I mean, I give her a lot of credit. I give her a lot of patience because I'm not an easy person to coach. I'm kind of, I would have said I was uncoachable, but what she has done, I mean, she's very intimidating. She's very, well accomplished. And
she's hardcore.
She's very hardcore.
Yeah.
She's very demanding.
I think she's good for you.
But I do like it. She's not for everybody, but if I think you have to click with your coach. And,
yeah.
And so with her, I think it's just fantastic. And there's certain things that I remember about, like in terms of, we're talking about feeling the hurt, like when it hurts, kind of a thing in a race, and you just have to push through that. And I remember once we were running I think it was the Blessing of the Fleet. I think that was last year or maybe the year. I think it had been last year.
Typically at 5:00 in the afternoon, typically like super humid, just sticky mosquitoes.
Tons of people. And you fight the traffic to get there.
Totally.
So she said, we're going to run this together. And I'm like, oh God, I just don't want to do this. And she said, we're going to run together. So we're running and she's slow down. And so we get to mile 8 or something.
She's pacing
and
you.
So we're doing like 8-minute miles, so sub 8-minute miles. And she's like, okay, if you think you can beat me, go now. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm not going to beat world champion Amy Rice. She goes, well, if you think you can beat me, go now, but don't let me catch you. And I was like, what? So I took off and I was like, oh my God, she's coming behind me. But like, it's honestly like the best coaching, because like she knows what gets my goat and she knows what gets me to go.
That's what it's all about, like knowing how to push those buttons and then seeing what your athlete's made of. It's so important to have that click. So you had said that you would consider yourself uncoachable. Why?
Well, for my first, I would say my first 100 triathlons, I coached myself and did pretty well. And so
is this your first coach?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. And I'm not really, but it's hard to give up that kind of control.
Yeah.
So we do have our differences of opinion. I think I'm still racing more often than she would like, but
you race a lot.
I do.
I was looking at just this year alone, you've done like 9 races already.
Really?
Yeah. I was looking at your athlinks today.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God, she hits every, first of all, you're so hardcore because you're racing in the winter in New England, which I know everyone's like, oh, but it was a mild winter. But to me, 40 degrees is that's not warm. Like, this is a girl that's moving to California. Like, I want to be warm.
Well, I had signed up for that. It was the Martha's Vineyard 20-miler last year, and we had a really horrible winter, so that was canceled.
It was so brutal last winter.
And I really, really, really wanted to go. I had a great reservation at a hotel, and so I said, well, I'll just do it again this year. And so that means you have to train through the winter. And then this year, they actually scaled it back down to 16 miles because we had a storm. It was freezing. It was like...
Yeah, I remember that.
So...
I remember that. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, it was, but I trained for a 20-mile, and Amy's training for a 20-mile means you train more than 20 miles. You don't go 15, you do 22.
Right.
So I was like kind of disappointed, and she said, well, just do a marathon. And I'm like, ugh. And I had done the Flying Pig last year, and it was my first marathon outside of an Ironman. And I wasn't serious about qualifying for Boston at all. I just wanted to beat Oprah, which was like a 4:29:40 or something like that. And like I kind of
you're going down, Oprah.
Well, I kind of knew. I mean,
I've already beat Amy Rice.
No,
watch out, sister.
No, it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing because like my half marathon pace, I would have been on pace for Oprah, but it's kind of a thing to beat Oprah. So I ended up getting sick in that race, and so I ended up having it was like a 3:58, and so I missed Boston in my first marathon by 3 minutes. And so it was kind of in the back of my head thinking, yeah, maybe on a good day you qualify for Boston, but it's not really a goal. I'm not a runner. I don't view myself as that. I'm not a marathoner.
I think with anything sub 4, you're a runner. Yeah. I mean, I think anybody that finishes a marathon is a runner for sure.
Yeah.
But just BQ'd at the Providence Marathon.
Yeah. And I got to say, like, of all my races, and I don't know, on athletes, I got 260, 270 races. I don't know. And again, I've won, I've lost, whatever. But that race, it meant so much more to me for having not done as well as I wanted to the year before. And I kept looking at my watch, doing the math, thinking, oh my God, you could walk at this point and you're still going to make it. And I was so emotional at the end. I just was like, you're the fat girl, because that race, the Providence Marathon, the Providence Half Marathon, was the first race that I was telling you about, where I went to the gym 3 times. 3:28 was my time, and I'm almost 20 minutes short of cutting my half marathon and
Wow.
doubling it. You know what I mean, for the marathon and the half marathon. So I guess I shouldn't put that out to the universe, but like that would be awesome to have that as a real,
to like run a 3:28 marathon. And is that what you're saying? Like,
well, yeah,
because you did that first half marathon in 3:28.
Yeah, so I was at 3:49. So it's not that far. It's kind of an aggressive goal. I can't imagine, but again, I was talking to my coach Amy this afternoon, and after the speedway, I think I was looking at my watch, and it was like some 6:57s, and I was like, I think my pace was like a 7:03 or something. And she said to me, "Well, did you ever think you were going to be running 7-minute miles?" And I'm like, "Well, no," but that's just because now Amy's funny. She has 2 dogs, and we have track workouts, and she brings the dog. And my joke is that she makes the dogs chase us. That's why people that she coaches are fast. And there's a drone in the air, and the drone dive bombs us and makes us run faster. But it's been.
Yeah, I don't think anybody needs to be doubting you as an Athena doing some 6:57s today. That's amazing.
I looked at I couldn't believe it myself. I looked down, I'm like, oh, your Garmin's not working. Your Garmin, it has to be.
So at the yeah, I know we want to question it, right? The Garmin, which we want to question, like if it makes us look like we're going too fast, if it makes it look like we're going too slow, like we always want to question it. But it's like the data's the data. This thing's coming off, bouncing off a satellite. So at the Providence Marathon, did you go into it wanting to qualify for Boston?
Amy did. I did not. I just want to redeem. I wanted to finish healthy because I got food poisoning at the Flying Pig, and so I really was just like, I just want to. Yeah, and it was like downhill from mile 14, and so whatever. But I that was my only goal really, and like Boston, I was like, that's just not. That's
That's for runners.
That's for other people. I've watched the Boston Marathon. I go up every year and watch it at Wellesley, which is where I went to school.
Yeah.
And I watched a million people, and I never ever thought that I would do it myself. Like maybe as a charity spot, but like I wasn't really that interested.
So what was that day like? Did you just feel great? Did you feel like it was one of those days where everything aligned, or?
It was funny because I got to like mile, I want to say it was like 14 or so, and my training partner Mona was there, which it meant the world to me. She had her daughter and her stepdaughter were there, and they had little signs made for me, and it was just fantastic. We used to train together all the time, and the family thing, but it meant so much to me to have her at the halfway point. I was like, oh my God. So after I saw her, it was one of my fastest miles. I had this boost.
Again,
I was like, I thank her beyond.
Again, going back to like that crowd support, it's unbelievable how much you can pull from them. So anybody who's out there who's ever supported at a race, please go back because it gives so much to the athletes.
Yeah. I really, at the very end, I was screaming out loud like I had never vocalized. I was like, oh my God, this is happening. I was actually saying that, and people are looking at me like I was an insane woman, like, but I really didn't care. And I was like, I'm just qualified for Boston. And they're like, so? I'm like, you don't get it. Like, it wasn't my dream. Like, it was never my dream.
But it was the thing that you never really even considered or like,
like
it was,
It still shocks me. Like, even today, like when they said I was first, I was like, no, really? And like, it never gets old, but it surprises me. Every time. And I think that as much as I try to support other people, in terms of respecting yourself and like acknowledging yourself and your strength and things like that, I struggle with it as well because I'm like, whatever, and
like we want to dim it down, like, oh, but it was just a duathlon, or like, why do we do that to ourselves? And I think that, I know why. It's just the ego that wants to, it's the one that wants to dim it down, but it's also the one that gets us to be like, okay, just a little bit harder. I'm going to pass that person, and then I'm going to be in first place. Like so it comes in the front door, comes in the back door. You got to watch it. You got to be on like high alert for that thing because it's the one that's going to push you down at the end. It's the one that's going to pat you on the back. So during that marathon, was there ever a time like, they talk about the wall at mile 18. Did you just feel good? Were you just like, when did you realize that you were going to qualify for Boston?
I think it was like mile 20 or so. And
which is when the race starts.
Yeah, maybe 21, 22. It was like 16, I felt pretty bad. I was like, ugh. Like, actually 16, I was like, I didn't feel bad. I felt like I should sprint because it's only 10 more miles. And I felt like, oh my God, that's like an hour and a half. Like I felt like I needed to like hold myself back. And then like mile 19, you're like, oh God, thank God I didn't start to sprint because like it's setting in right now.
Yeah. Then the wheels start to loosen. Yeah. It's because you're like, I've got to keep holding back. I got to keep holding back because that last 10K is where it's at. And like when you cross the finish line, like the wheels should be falling off.
Yeah. And I've pretty much held the pace. I mean, I think my last, when I was looking at my watch and doing, do the crazy math, you're like, oh my God, I could do 11-minute miles and still qualify.
Wow.
I was like, wow. And I actually kind of slowed down towards the end, and I was like doing like 9s or 9:30.
Just to
like,
soak it
up.
up?
Like, yeah. Well, not really. I didn't have to run that fast anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was kind of like, you're going to be okay, and it doesn't really, like, you're going to win your age group or anything like that. It was just kind of a, I shouldn't say that because now Amy's going to make me run another one.
She knows what you're capable of. She knows better than you what you're capable of, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you said you do race a lot, and I can see that as a coach, she probably doesn't agree with how much you race. So what is your, like, how do you race so much and recover and still train? Like, especially when you're getting into the summer season and like sometimes you're doing races Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And then like maybe the next weekend you're popping into one too.
Yeah.
So these are hard. So even if they're shorter distances, that's still a major tax because it's a hard effort.
Yeah.
So how do you, are you still figuring this out? Like, no, what's your recipe? Like how do you recover well?
Even when I was coaching myself, I would go out and do a sprint as just like the warm up. And then I would go do a 60-mile bike ride or do a half marathon, finish that, go eat something in the car, and then go do a 60-mile bike ride. I'm kind of used to it at this point. And so days
and you
off,
do just love to race.
I do. Like there's something, it's weird. I don't know what it is. Like when I finished today, I was like, did I do all the laps? Like I know I called out because you had to call your number out every time they would write it down. I'm like, okay, like I was fast, but like did I skip a lap or something? Like how does that happen? There's something like another Leslie. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
I think
like
I do know you.
Else.
It sounds like you kind of hit into like a flow. Like you get into like a flow when you're racing, like where you're. And maybe I'm just assuming, but like a flow state, like the way that's kind of defined is when your awareness is merged in with the activity and you're just fully there. And that is where the best athletic performances will come from because you're fully available, all of you, your mental strength, your physical strength, everything is aligned and like you have all of your faculties going in the right direction. And there's no other time that you are more powerful than when you're in a flow state. So there's something that happens to you when the gun goes off that you kind of move into this zone.
I could have like a warm up run and you'll be doing like 10:30s. You're like, oh, I can't run any faster than this. Like,
I hate the warm up run. Like much that I'm like, I can't even do the warm up run. Or like if you have to do like strides or some kind of sprinting and you're just like, I feel stiff.
I mean, I do it like the dynamic stretching. I do what Amy says, but like I'm thinking like, this is like, I'm never going to be able to run.
You're doing
fast. So I'm like, okay, it was like this morning, my warm up was like, 10-minute, not 10-15. So I'm like, oh geez. And like even the bike, I did 2 laps of the course before the race started. And I was doing like, 17, 18 miles an hour. And then the gun goes off and I'm running 6:57s and biking at 23 miles an hour. It's like, who is that person? I don't know who that is.
And when you train, do you, and I still want to get to that recovery piece, but when you train, do you train at those paces? No.
Not always. I do what Amy says.
Exactly. So you save those for like real specific stuff, track, things like that.
We try. She always tells me I go too fast, which, again, I work at home. I'm a lawyer. I've got things to do. Like,
You're not laying around on the couch.
Yeah. So, I mean, like a long, slow run before work, like a 10, 12 mile, like that's... And I think at the end of the day, I need to look at it thinking, okay, she's asking you to run 20 seconds slower a mile. At the end of 10 miles, you're really only talking, 2 minutes or something like that. So just chill.
Do you feel like you've slowed a little bit because of her guidance? Or do you feel like you're kind of the same as when you're coaching yourself?
No, definitely faster.
No, I mean, as far as when you go out and train. Like you said, she
I
wants you
never
to be
trained. I honestly, I never, like, when I even, like, I've done like maybe 35 half marathons. I don't know how many I've done with her. I never ran more than 6 or 7 miles. And like, yeah, I was doing fine. I was winning, races and things like that. But I never trained like that. And so, like, even still, like hill repeats and all this crazy stuff she has us doing. I'm like, okay. I mean, I ran track. That was different than what she has us doing now.
Right.
But no, it's completely different in terms of like recovery.
Yeah, like how did you recover from your race today?
I went for a 20-mile bike ride.
Of course.
Yeah, but she knew about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Was that like a hard ride or just kind of a steady?
Okay, well.
What was it supposed to be, Leslie?
It was supposed to be a recovery ride. But see, the thing is, like, if there's somebody ahead of me on a bike, it's going down.
It's race day.
It's going down. So, yeah. There were a couple people out there. So, I mean, but
it was an amazing day. It was
Yeah.
supposed to rain all day. It was really
Yeah.
beautiful today.
Yeah. So it wasn't the 23 miles an hour, but I mean, riding in your neighborhood with,
Right.
dogs and things. I mean, it is
Yeah.
what it was. It was fine.
Yeah.
But so I have an off day tomorrow, so that will be my recovery. I think probably have yoga tomorrow. I haven't
Good.
checked the schedule.
Where do you practice?
I practice very much at the Laughing Elephant. Right down
Oh
the
yeah, I've
street
heard
with
really good
Lori.
things about
Yeah.
that. Oh, they're right down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I want to
Yeah.
check them out before we go.
I like the atmosphere. I mean, my gym has yoga, and I went to
The
it's
studio-
it's in like a huge gymnasium, and it's just
Yeah,
not,
the
I don't get
studio
that
atmosphere is
cozy-
nice.
Yeah, I like they have like the little candles and little Buddha. I need all that.
Yeah, it's nice to get into. Yeah, it's nice to get into the space, and when they set the environment, those things can help for sure to kind of just
And the people
get
there
you
are
in.
nice too.
Yeah, I hear really, really good things about them. The Laughing Elephant. I'm gonna have to check it out. And what kind of yoga is it? Is it like a hatha practice?
It depends on which days that Amy tells me to go.
Yeah.
Whatever class they offer is what I do.
Good.
And so
It doesn't matter. It's all
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
The teaching is the same. If you look at like the Yoga Sutras, which is like the Bible of the yoga, I mean, the definition of yoga pretty much is, the modifications or the cessation of the modifications of the mind stuff. So it's like, it's finding that neutral point amongst all the fluctuations of your mind. So the science is the same. The practice is the same. It's just the physical postures can be different. Some are more alignment based. Some are more, still and holding the poses, more restorative. I love restorative yoga too. I mean, I teach. I'm a
when
power.
you fall asleep on the floor with
Yeah.
the bolster.
Yeah, exactly. You have all these like pillows, and you're like nap time.
Yeah.
But I teach heated power vinyasa, which I get a lot of type A's there who want to like do it right. They want to do it fast, And so, but what I do in my classes is I take them up a steep curve. Like I get them like going, and then I take them down a steep descent. So the yin portion is like I've got them holding the poses long. I try and keep that like a good portion, because a lot of power classes I'll go to, like it's 75% of like the power, and then at the end, which is really what I think the athlete needs, is that stretching, is that like lengthening. And I love the heat and the steam because it just opens your body so much. I love it. But I can't, when I'm in training, I can't always do a power class.
Yeah.
I mean, rarely, especially if I'm in the peak of my training, can I go in and like really hammer out a power class. So I'll modify, which is really devastating to the ego, or I'll go to restorative. Have you ever heard of Yoga Nidra?
No.
It's like the yogic sleep, which
I probably would be good at that.
Oh yeah, I know. There's a couple times that I actually fall asleep. But it's what I've seen is like 30 minutes of Yoga Nidra can be equivalent to like 3 hours of quality sleep. So this is like my new favorite for triathletes and athletes in general, because we ask so much of our bodies. And a lot of times you're a lawyer, you're training, you're racing a lot, not a lot of time to just lay on the floor and do nothing, or take longer naps, or get that sleep that you need. So this is a great way to recover the body. And there's even like on YouTube, like there's like 15-minute. I'm never like above just doing like a YouTube Yoga Nidra. It's just you lay down basically and you just listen to the instruction of the teacher. And it just gets you into this deep state of relaxation. And in those moments, like when you're coming out of it, you're like, oh, I just want to stay here forever. But my experience is once you get over that, you feel so energized.
Yeah.
And you literally do nothing except for lay on there's no stretching or anything involved, which is really what, is good for us too.
Yeah. I think one of the things that sticks out in my mind the most for the yoga, again, I do go begrudgingly, but I do see its value.
I'm so glad that you go. I love it. You're on the Yogi Triathlete podcast.
I am.
You're a yogi triathlete.
Trying.
God.
But the different like body types of women who go to yoga, at least at Laughing Elephant down there.
Oh gosh,
and
yeah.
Like it's the same thing that I've experienced in triathlon. Like, and I see myself, I walk in there, I'm like, I'm going to be the worst person in the room. I'm the biggest person in the room. And then you see somebody else and she blows you away, and she's doing splits and hand balances and everything. And you're like, she's 250 pounds. Like, how is that possible? And I'm like, go you, whoever you are.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring in a way, but intimidating, thinking I should be doing more. I should be able to touch my toes.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't discriminate. And that's what I love about triathlon too. It doesn't discriminate. It's all shapes and sizes. Like, everybody come, and it's your race. This is your path. Like, it's your life. It's nobody else's. And this is like really like the birthplace of Yogi Triathlete, because we were living in Boulder, and I've been practicing yoga for a long time. My first class was in the early 90s in Jamaica, and I did it really for the physical practice for many, many years, and now for me it's like the mental piece is everything. But I'm in Boulder, and I'm a massage therapist, and I'm treating a lot of athletes, and I'm recommending yoga to them, and nobody's going. They're resisting it. They don't want to go, and I know at that time, because there's a big yoga scene out in Boulder. I'm sure there was plenty of them doing it, but I remember one day being like, oh my gosh, like, I'm the only triathlete I know that does yoga, and I'm like, but the thing about it is that the two have so many similarities, even though they're so different. But once I started getting into longer distance triathlon even, I realized that they brought me to the same place, that I had to get away from the body and into something higher to kind of get through all of it, whether that's the holding a long pose and feeling a lot of sensation in my body, or, running through that blister where the skin just sheared off and you've still got another 10K to go. And so it's like, it's finding that contentment. And I found that yoga has given me the tools to be so much more graceful in my racing on the course.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Like I said, I've been practicing for a long time. Yeah. And I would say it's been about like maybe 5 years that I've really like gone through like a lot of transformation in that sense, and realized that, wow, I can finish an Ironman with ease, and not, that doesn't mean I'm not feeling pain. Heck yeah, I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling a lot of it, but I'm seeing it in I relate to it completely different. But the first, 15, 18 years of doing yoga was like, I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to be the best. Oh, wait, hold on. That girl's doing it better than me, and seeing it as the competition, right? Which was why triathlon was so great for me, because I was like, whoa, this actually is a competition. This is great. So we're all on our own timelines, right? And so like, I had 53 people in my class this morning, and I'm just speaking to them, and I'm looking, and there's different ages, and there's whole families that are coming. It's amazing. And I'm speaking like whatever the teachings are that are coming in that present moment, and I just know like maybe there's just one person here that's supposed to hear that, and everybody else is just there for a different reason, or they hear another thing. And it's like, we're always exactly where we're supposed to be. You're supposed to be on that mat. Like, there's something there for you. And I think that you're starting to see that, like, you see the benefit of it.
Yeah, I think the best benefit is just making you stop.
Yes.
Or,
huge.
You're not with the cell phone. You're not with, anything else. It's just, you're just there. And the last 3 minutes where you're just relaxing and taking it all in. I forget what they call that.
Oh, Shavasana.
Yeah.
I used to think that was such a waste of time.
Yeah, exactly. But it's actually pretty good.
It's okay. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I have this thing, and it's a really bad habit.
I'm going to get you that shit. There's a shirt that says, I'm here for the Shavasana. Exactly. I think you need that.
That's me. But I kind of liken it to this bizarre habit that I have. I spend a lot of time in my car. Like I get home at the end of the day, working out from yoga, from the gym, swimming, wherever. And before you go to the mailbox and get your mail, before you come in the house and do the laundry and feed the cats and organize your work day, before any of that happens, I sit in my car. It's like this cocoon where nothingness happens. It's kind of the shavasana.
Yeah, like you shut the car off, and there's like that moment where it goes into silence.
Yeah, it can turn into an hour or so, but I'm working on that.
Well, when we pulled up to this house, it is such an amazing sanctuary. Like, I think we might just pitch our tent in the backyard and stay here. It really is. Like, just to pull up to this house, it's so
very
beautiful.
Very fortunate.
But yeah, I mean, that's yoga. Like, yoga isn't reserved. I say to people, like, don't just reserve yoga for special occasions where you pre-register and you bring your mat. Like, it's for all things. It's for all things.
I have an idea. It just came to me. We should have a car yoga, like cassette. You put in your car, you just sit in the wheel and
yeah. In those moments before you walk
before the kids and the laundry and the Calgon and all that, you just sit in your car and have like 10 minutes of reflection. Roll your head, stretch your feet.
Totally.
And then you can face the rest of the day.
I think you're going to create this.
Exactly.
I think you're going to create this.
I'm going to patent it.
Well, this, I've been giving this talk on stress in the workplace, and actually, it's called mindfulness in the workplace, and it's about stress. And so that's one of the tips that I give people is just transition wisely. When you're walking to your office, like park a little further away. Don't take your phone out. Just put it in your bag and feel yourself walking into the office. Like, it's these transitions. And because so much of our struggle, I think, in life is like what we're bringing into the moment. And like, what are you bringing in? Maybe something that happened in the morning, you're still kind of festering and thinking about it. Like, are you bringing that into the office? It's like this idea of transitioning wisely. And like, when you pull up to your car, okay, work is now done. Transition wisely. Come on in and see cat number 1 and other cat, and and transition into this amazing sanctuary that you have as a home. So that's, I mean, you're practicing yoga, I think, more than you probably know already.
Exactly.
I love it. I can't wait for you to tell me. I just finished an Ironman with ease. Pain is only sensation until you label it.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know if I have another Ironman. I mean,
what one did you do?
I did Beach to Battleship.
Oh, nice. And which is like now Ironman.
Yeah.
It's like the branded Ironman now.
But I had a favorite race. It was called the 100-mile Tri, which was ideal for me. It's in Lake Ontario, and you had 1 mile swim, 84 on the bike, which is my favorite, and then only 15 on the run. Again, I wasn't training for it more than a half Ironman or half marathon, which again was my 7-mile run.
And wasn't that race? So you did that race. Was that your 100th? Like, to get you into because you're in the USAT,
the
Century Club.
Yeah. I timed it. It was funny because I think I had 70 races
I remember that year you were going for it, too.
Yeah, and then they said, well, you could get 100 races and get in the Century Club. I said, all I have to do is 30 races in a year? I can do 30 races in a year.
No problem.
Why not? But so I timed it because the 100-mile Tri was it was in October. It was in early October. And I figured, oh gosh, I've lost 100 pounds. I could do the 100-mile Tri as my 100th race if I time it correctly.
Oh my gosh.
So that's when I was doing 2 races a weekend, every weekend for like I don't know, it was like 15, 18 months.
Coaching yourself. You didn't have to battle with anybody about racing too much.
And I went to a lot of fantastic places, a lot of great races. Montauk and a lot of places. It was great.
That one sounds like a good one. So what, let's get back. I want to get back to the recovery piece because I think it's such a big thing for athletes. So when you're in the height of the season, how do you recover? Like, how is it that you can bounce is what I'm saying. Like, how is it that you can bounce from a race, train, and then do another race? Or are you still kind of working that out with Amy? Have you gone through a full season with her yet?
Yeah.
So how did she work it with you last year?
Honestly, I tried to do everything that she said, so I don't know if it's, I don't know. I felt like I was training less than I was myself because when I was doing my own,
you probably were because she saw the efforts that you're putting out in these races. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, how do you still train? Like, you're training, something's got to give. Yeah. And it was probably your training. Like, you had to give that a little bit.
Training the races. It's, train doing a race. And I call it you're training with people, like a timed group event with people. And
right.
Yeah.
There you go.
They have
Training.
And support. They give you water. You know, it's great.
You're such a lawyer.
But no, I mean, I don't know. I just
seems like you're made to race. Like, I think you're just made to race. Like, but how do you feel in the days afterwards? Are you like, do you feel like you bounce pretty good?
I must be. I have insomnia, so I you know, I don't feel like horrible.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, like even after like the marathon, I didn't feel like the next day. I think it's like 2 days, and I think I had some recovery or something, you know, bike ride or something like that. But like you would think that you would feel worse.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And I've had injuries. I mean, maybe I wouldn't have had. So that's not good. But I've had a good team that I've kind of put together with, you know, Amy, and I started working with this nutritionist as well. And that's
great.
That's been fantastic in the past. I started with him December, and he's a bodybuilding coach, which is
they've got their nutrition dialed.
They do. That's why I always said, if you want to learn how to lose weight, gain weight, build muscle tone, ask a bodybuilder.
It's all about the diet.
They know exactly what they're doing. And
yeah.
So Dave Finelli is the guy I had worked with. I actually met with him twice, and he gave me a diet plan, and the type A that I am, I've just stuck with it, and my body composition has just changed fantastically. I look smaller. I'm
you
faster.
don't. I mean,
people are like, you're Athena.
Yeah,
I'm like, I really am.
I know. She's got. For people can't see her. She's got this sexy little dress on.
I never get to wear dresses. That's why I was like, I'm not in spandex. I'm not in my pajamas. I'm wearing a dress.
It's so cute. I love it. Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at you and be like, oh, you're just going to go have fun out there. I'd look at you and be like, oh my God, this lady's going to hunt me down on the race course and beat me.
Well, it's kind of funny though, because like racing as Athena, like, I think you open yourself up to people making comments on your weight. Like you don't look Athena, or you're, you know, and it's kind of a double-edged sword with that.
Yeah.
I mean, what does an Athena look like? What do you mean by that statement?
Yeah. Why is it so set out of the bounds? Like it's so it's so weird. Maybe because it's weight determined is why it feel like, but these questions are not being asked to, like, people don't say to me like, oh, you don't look 44, or oh, you look 47, or are you sure you're in the right age group?
Yeah.
Did you do the whole course?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is at nationals and larger events, they do weigh you. You have to sign an affidavit. It's not just a guess, you know. I mean, it's a qualification,
right?
Just like prize
absolutely.
fighters, it's just like whatever it is. So I mean, there's no lying about it. I mean, if you're in or you're out. So I don't know. It's very strange, and I have experienced things before where like friends have said after I won a race, like, well, if you're winning the overall, you shouldn't be racing as an Athena. Like an Athena shouldn't win. Like what do you mean by that? Like you don't view them as serious contenders. And again, don't count us out. Just because you're larger doesn't mean you're not competitive. And
that doesn't even make sense. Again, it's like putting it out of the bounds. Like it's like this age group that's infiltrating the rest of the race.
Yeah. And
that's not true at all. It's just another category.
And I do admit I have used it to my advantage sometimes. Like you'll be running a race and you'll be passing someone, and I'll say, oh, don't worry about me. I'm racing as an Athena, and like because you're passing them, and they're like, they try to speed up. I'm like, you don't have to pass me because I'm not racing against you. But then they're like, wait, you're an Athena and you're passing me, and then this different kind of panic sets in.
Right.
But yeah, see, kind of a thing. Exactly. But I don't know. It's just very charged. Like people have said over the years, you know, I don't think you should be racing as an Athena anymore if you're winning. Well, what does that mean? I proudly, you know, I proudly register as an Athena. As long as I can, I will.
Yeah.
And that's just the bottom line, because I really just think it does worlds for respect and for all of us. I mean, whether you're 400 pounds or whether you're right on the line, I think it does opens people's eyes to say, yeah, you know, you're an athlete out here working just as hard as everybody else. You paid your entry fee. The way I look at it, it's anyone's race any day. Like
it's anyone's race any day.
Or the 115-pound athlete. You all pay your entry fee. You all toe the line. It's go. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, it was funny last year.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I challenged a friend of mine to a race, and it was a joke because she has done fantastically at Kona and places, and it was really for a charity bet. I was saying, you spot me 45 minutes, tickets, and we'll throw it down and see. If I win, I'll donate to charity. If you win, you donate to charity. And I had no aspirations. Like, she's like a 4:30 kind of a half Ironman girl, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, my best is like a 5:30. So we go down, and people towards the end of the race are like, you're ahead of her. She hasn't come by or whatever. And I said, no, it's actually ridiculous. You're absolutely crazy. It turns out that she had gotten lost on the course. And so I did technically by time beat this person, but it just, for me, it's kind of, it was funny, but it was more like, yeah, don't count us out. Like, anything can happen on any race day. Like, anyone, you could get lost on the course. You could get a flat tire, Meredith Kessler, like, she ended up walking, like, it can happen to anybody.
You
and so
never know.
Don't sell yourself short. Just go out there and do the best you can. And like, even today, like, I generally thought until they called the awards that I was in second place, and I was okay with that until I was like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Like, mathematically, I don't know how that happened, but I was glad it did. But
anytime we get to the finish line and we're safe, especially when you're talking about multi-sport and you're talking about people whipping around a speedway track and then people walking, like, anytime you can finish something like that, safely cross that finish line, the accomplishment is done. Yeah. Everything else is just a bonus.
I used to always say that, the race day is the day where you just go the last 140 miles, you just go pick up your medal, kind of a thing. It's really,
it's the dessert.
It's the whole training and everything that led up to that point, which is why, like, a lot of people get upset with the DNF, or like I finished in 16:59. It's like, no, you finished. You did all of that training for months and sacrifice with your family and your friends.
Oh, so much.
And all of that, and you made it. Like, you did the event, and so be proud of yourself. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, and again, it's that ego that wants to come in and beat you up, and I think that triathlon, just by the nature of the sport, forces us to believe in ourselves a little bit more. And we're more similar than we are different. And if you kind of peel away the weight and the age and the face and all of that, like, we really at our core are so much more similar than we think, and that we're all kind of fighting this battle of life, you know? And that, I love that about triathlon is that, you're doing, I remember my first triathlon. I remember doing my first, it was a sprint, it was a pool swim, and just be crossing the finish line being like, I did 3 different things. Like, one of my favorite things is transitioning. I love to do, you're like, okay, that's done. I get to do this now. Like, it's just so amazing. Multi-sport is so amazing in that. And I think that it's such a growing sport, and it's so big. And this happened in Boulder a lot too. Like, it just gets normalized. And it's like, it's a major accomplishment. It really is, because it's so much more than the race. It's all the training and everything that goes into it, and the discipline and the eating and, getting up when you're tired and going out there and getting the work done.
It's funny though, because I think you'll identify with this as well. But at some point when you're a triathlete, which I kind of hesitate saying that, because I don't feel like a triathlete, but like, all of your friends are triathletes. And so whether, it's just who you hang out with, it's who you talk to, it's just your life. Yeah. But in some respects, that can kind of diminish what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, you think that, like, okay, I finished in 15:55, and so I'm not. No, if you go down to the corner and you pass 20 people, none of them have done anything close to what you did in 15:55. Like, you just need to stand up and be proud of what you've done. It's major.
Yeah. And when I remember when we moved back here, so we lived here before in Newport, then we moved to Boulder, where we got into triathlon. And the whole reason why I did my first Ironman was because I was the only woman I knew that hadn't done one. And all these other women have kids. Like, they have kids, and they're like out there, training with like 2 kids in a stroller. And I was like, oh my God, I have no excuse. I got to do this. And I remember when we moved back here and we were, getting back in with our friends and things like that, it was so amazing just to, like, go and have dinner with friends and not talk about triathlon. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, of course, we find out that Fuel Belt's here, and then we meet Vinu, and then this whole crew, and now all of a sudden it's like, now we're all going to all the triathlon parties. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a first world problem. It's not that big of a deal, but it was so nice to come back and just find that separation, because for so long it was everything we did. And I know BJ loves that. I needed just a little bit of a break.
Yeah. I'm not quite there yet. I had one person ask me, well, what if it was all, because I was working through an injury. Like, what if that was it? Like, what if you're done? Like, what if, like, what would you do like, on a Saturday evening or a Sunday evening if you didn't have triathlon and you're not recovering from having done? What would you do? And I'm thinking,
I don't know. Find another
what
sport.
I do. Like on my recovery day, I play tennis. Like, okay, I play tennis. There's got to be something else.
I guess I'd go to Wimbledon.
Yeah,
I mean,
what else? I don't know.
So what is like? So this is a good segue to this question. Like, what is it that keeps bringing you back? Like, what is it?
The shiny medals and the balloons.
Yeah, when I walked in here, you've got a whole Hall of Fame. How many medals do you have out there, you think? Well, we know over 100 at least.
Well, I mean, again, so I've raced a lot, and I think I've not placed in terms of triathlons. I think I've come in fourth, maybe twice or three times.
Oh my God!
So there's a lot of medals.
You're so
and cups
meant
and
for
things.
this. It's so
yeah,
beautiful.
there's a lot of cups out there. But I love them all. I remember them all. And it's not just because I'm boastful or whatever. I really, for me, it's
the real deal. I'm looking at the hardware right now. It's the real deal out there.
It's saved my life. In all honesty, it's been transformative, and it's been like the best thing for me because it has to do with self-respect and not just challenging your own limits, but learning to believe in yourself. And like I think I have a stone in the front that says believe, and that's like one of the messages I'd love to pass to people. Like believe in yourself. And I'm on a path where I'm trying to believe in myself.
Yeah.
I still don't believe. I'm thinking, what's it going to take? Sometimes when I get introspective, I'm thinking, what's it going to take, Leslie, for you to think that you're good enough?
Yeah.
Like how much do you have to do? Like when is enough for you?
I think it's a practice. Like it's a lifelong practice for us to believe in ourselves. And it's funny that you have that sign because we have our trainers downstairs in the basement. And we're taking very, very few things on this trip that we're going on this huge life change that we're about to have. And one of the things is this sign that says believe. And we have it right on, like, so when you're on the trainer downstairs, you're staring at that like the whole time. And it's I mean, I can attest to having major unworthiness issues that tortured me through not always being the nicest person when I was younger, on doing things that weren't always so kind, torturing myself with eating disorders, getting into a relationship where, I finally didn't have to be the victimizer that I look back now and I see that like, oh my gosh, because I was the victimizer and the victim. But then getting into a relationship was like, oh, that lightens my load. I don't have to abuse myself so much anymore. Yeah. And then finding triathlon and feeling the exhilaration and then because you're out there, you're stripped down, to like, oh my God, I have to finish this race. You're in pain. Like I said, you have to go beyond like body and mind, and you really get a good look at yourself. Yeah. And what I saw was, wow, I can do anything. Like, who am I saying that I'm not worthy? And I think as humans, we're conditioned. We're conditioned just from our society to feel as though we're in a state of lack. Oh, hi. Is this kitty nice?
That's the other cat. Yeah, he's nice.
Oh, why don't you come up? Yeah, I mean, if you look at everything, just from marketing, advertising, it's always like, you need this, and that really starts to translate really deeper and like it just hangs on that piece that I think a lot of us have in common is just this, when am I going to be good enough? And so
I've noticed like and I hate to turn everything back to the Athena group, but it's my soul.
Yeah, no, this is what it's about. It's about sharing your story.
But I think that it hurts me a lot because I've lived it and I do live it when people come and they reiterate tales about not feeling good enough and not feeling like their body is good enough, and someone will have said some comment about you're too fat or this and that. Like even my own relatives, I won't name any names, but who said, well, maybe you're too fat to run or things like that. And like as Athena athletes, we hear that all the time.
Wow,
and that's
so harsh.
Yeah, and then like you hear people saying like, if I could just lose 40 pounds, and the crazy diets that they go on, and my heart just goes out because again, I've been there. Again, it's like I struggle with it myself, but when you see it in somebody else, you want to give them a big hug.
Well, you're compassionate because you felt that suffering, right? And that's what compassion's all about.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think I mentioned to you that on the Athena page, I have every now and then invited well-known athletes to come and speak with us. And like recently we had Ellen Hart, who is an Olympic qualifier, and she's an age group athlete and a Kona winner. And she had a TV movie where she talked about her struggle with eating disorders. And over time on the Athena page, I had heard a lot of women express the same kind of angst about being uncomfortable in their bodies. And it's the same thing. It's universal, regardless if you're larger or smaller.
Exactly.
And so I invited Ellen to come speak with us. And it was very well received. And I was kind of unsure, thinking, gosh, are they really going to get what my point is by connecting people together? Like, it's this everyone's struggle, because she's such a high performing, smaller athlete, and like other, they're not, so, for me, it resonated. I met her in Australia, and I just connected with her right away. And so there's been others over time that we've had come speak with us, but it's the same story. It's like
it's the same story. Yeah. And I bet that I could relate to a lot of the issues that some of the women that are sharing. And it, it's like what I was saying about when I teach yoga. I don't have a plan of what I'm going to say. Like, words just come out, and as the class is hearing them, and I just trust, like, they're for somebody. And maybe Ellen's message was for somebody, or maybe it was for a large amount of people. You don't know, but it's like, if you find that in your heart, like, I've got to bring this to the group, bring it to the group. And I know you had Nicole DeBoom, which I know from Boulder. I met her, so long ago, and used to be an ambassador for Skirt Sports. She's amazing. She is such an amazing businesswoman and athlete. And then
opened up a store in Boulder.
Yeah, she just opened up a store. Yep. And then Hillary Biscay, which
she's been fantastic.
She's amazing, and she would love her. And I remember after I finished Ironman Lake Placid 2012, you commented on my Facebook and you said, "That's a great kit. Like, where did you get that kit?" And it was Smash Fest Queen, which their tri stuff is amazing. But share with what Hillary did to kind of support, your group. She's and what
been fantastic.
Like the information that you shared with her. Like,
there's a woman on the page, Kristen Orr Winstead, and I'm not sure where she lives, but she worked with Hillary to extend the sizes for Smash Fest, and so now they come up to 2X, and a legitimate 2X, and so we're all women. Like, not all women like pretty things, but a lot of women like pretty things.
Oh, and her stuff is amazing.
It's amazing, and it fits well, and it's high quality, and the personal touch that they do. Like, I remember last year before Nationals, I had ordered a kit because they had a pre-order for us, and so I ordered a kit for Nationals, and she sent me a pair of socks in there and a little handwritten note, "Good luck at Nationals," and I just felt like, oh my gosh, she actually really thinks about me as a person, and again, the whole tri community has been fantastic. Like, people like as I said, Meredith Kessler, like, I'm amazed. Like, so many times I'll write a note to her, and I never expect any kind of a return back.
Yeah,
like,
I hear she's
the night
just
before
a doll.
race, I'll say good luck, and she'll write me she's like, "Tell me about qualifying for Boston," and I'm like, "How did you even know I was running Boston?" Because she actually reads your Facebook page,
right?
Or like Heather Jackson, I'm completely obsessed with her.
Oh, she's such a badass.
She won today. Did you see
that?
Oh
my gosh, no.
Yeah, so but people like that, and Caitlin Snow, she's been fantastic.
Yep.
But just the accessibility, and the acceptance that people have made me feel that way. That's how I really want to extend the arms to the greater Athena community, thinking, like, if you're just even thinking about it, this is for you. Don't let anyone else tell you that it's not for you and that you don't belong, that you do it in 2 years. Do it now. Like, I mean, really, it changed my life. Like, seriously, changed my life.
Yeah. And so you've had a huge transformation. So when you ran that first half marathon, you were much, much heavier than you are now. And so that obviously was a part of the story, that transformation, but how did you lose the weight as a byproduct of the sport? Did you lose what was the impetus for that major weight loss in your life? Because I think this is a question that people are going to want to know the answer to.
I think it was really the end of that relationship that kind of set me straight. I had given up so much of myself. I was I'd been in the junior league, and I was told that was not something I should be doing. I was in the orchestra at Brown University.
Oh my gosh.
There's too much time, whatever. I was taking tennis lessons, and I was in a tennis league, and that was too expensive and frivolous, and there was nothing I was doing that was right. Like my silverware wasn't right. I mean, I look back and I have
and
to
this
laugh.
is really helping with the believe in yourself issue.
It was, I felt, and again, maybe it was a product of my insecurity and my perceptions of the relationship, because I'm still friends with this person today, and our relationship is much better.
Yeah,
I think it was more of my own insecurity, but I felt like I had given up a lot of myself.
Yeah.
And my friends had said, we don't like who you are in this relationship. Like really,
oh God, I've
we
heard
don't
that
like
too.
you. So I think at that point in time, I really just needed to get back to myself. And I had been in bodybuilding, I want to say like 3 or 4 years before that. And I really loved that focus and drive. And it just somehow shifted into triathlon with the new friends that I was hanging out with. And I just kind of stuck. And it really was. My first race was the Falmouth Sprint Tri, and I never forget.
Oh, that's a great race.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times. There's two stories from that one that I really remember. That my parents are from Buffalo, and the Cape is 600 miles away.
Yeah, it's pretty far from Buffalo.
Yeah, my parents drove in, got a hotel in Falmouth in the summer, and watched my first.
Oh my God!
Triathlon.
A hotel room in the summer in Falmouth is probably $8 million.
But the fact that they did that was like it just meaningful to me. I'm thinking it wasn't meaningful when they did it. I was kind of annoyed. Like why are they
they believed in you.
But it was more like in retrospect, I'm thinking that was major. Like they really I don't really invite them to my races because it's kind of boring. Like I mean, I'm sure they would love to. My mother actually, she loved going to Athena Nationals last year, but it was more because of the way, the people that I had not met from Facebook, how they reacted to me.
Oh yeah,
saying,
God, you're her. She ate that up. Yeah, that's great. So great.
But the other story from Falmouth, I remember you're talking about the transformation. I had run that as my first triathlon, and then I think I ran it the next year, or I think that was the New England Triathlon Tour, and they had Falmouth and Hyannis.
Yeah, those were the Without Limits boys.
Exactly.
And
we used Colorado.
We used to race their races in Boulder, and then boom, there they are, Lance and Tony, in Cape Cod. We were like, oh, this is amazing because they run a great race.
Yeah, they do. So I remember I was running that race, and again the last. It's 3.5 miles, and I remember this guy comes up running up behind me, and fast age grouper dude, random whoever, and he says, "I remember you from the spring," and he's running by me through me, and we're having this whole conversation. He goes, "You look fantastic. Keep up the good work," and it faded like the Doppler effect into the distance as he passed me, and I was like, "Wow!" He remembered me. I was noticed, and I felt a part of it at that minute. I probably had lost 60 pounds or something between the first, in the spring and then the fall or whenever that races were. But he remembered me. And again, there's not too many black women who run these races in New England. And so I'm sure I stuck out, but it meant something to me. Yeah. I don't know who he was, but it was sort of wow. And I don't know. They just, things like that, they just stick with you.
Yeah. And you're out. And that's what I like. Yeah, those potent moments. I talk about those potent moments a lot. And but that's what I love about this sport is that somebody can be pushing it breathless and still be like, I always hear it great job, awesome, whether they're passing you or you're passing them.
Yeah.
I feel this everyone wants you to succeed.
Yeah. The one thing that does concern me though, I'll call it the more compact I get is the way I like to describe it. I always, shout out kudos and high five to the Athena triathletes and Clydesdales. And I think it's in some respect, it's better received if you look more like a Clydesdale Athena than if you don't. And so I kind of wonder how that is received.
I know, but
some people are like, why you think I can't make it? Because that's why you're congratulating me. It's no, because I am you. That's why I think if you look to, I think of Christine Jacobson, who is a local age grouper. She wins a lot, and she was an Athena. She's on Team USA all the time. But if you looked at her, this blonde, fit triathlete, and you see her saying, yeah, you might misperceive what she's saying. And she's speaking from the heart. I have been where you are and I get your struggle.
Right.
And I am you. And so I think it's important on both ends to give the respect and to accept it, basically.
Yeah. Well, in the accepting, has so much to do with believing that it's meant for you in a loving way. And so all you can do is go out there and do that from your heart. And so, I mean, and for me too, like, I am you. Like, I have struggled with body image significantly through my life. Awful, awful, awful stuff. And like, I am you and you are me. Like, this is the connection that I'm saying. And so all we can do is just speak it from the heart and show that, like, that true nature that we are. And however they receive it is going to be how they receive it. But they could receive it like you did that day when that guy went by you. Yeah. You know, you just never know. It's better to put it out there than to not say anything at all.
Yeah. Because it really takes a healthy mindset to be able to receive someone's compliments and someone's, like, I don't know if you call it grace or whatever you want to define it as, but if someone's taking time out of their day to say good job, just say thanks, and don't internalize it thinking, what does he really mean? Because he really just means good job. You don't know where that person came from. You don't know what he could be a priest and just be just a good guy and saying that. You know, you just really need to embrace it.
Exactly. You don't know the story. You don't know the story behind the person. And so this belief that we're more similar than we are different. And then if I've had a struggle, that somebody else probably has had that same struggle, you know, to some degree. So how was that weight? Like you said, between those two triathlons, you had lost maybe like 60 pounds. How is that weight coming off of you? Like, did you change your eating habits? Like, what was going on?
You know, it's funny because I will say I started 2008, and most of it, I think I reached my 100-pound goal in 2012. So today it's 2016. It's only 4 years ago. Today, this lifestyle is such a part of my life.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
I don't like. I could tell you how to gain weight really fast. Just eat really bad foods and don't move. I laugh at myself sometimes. I look at, like, I remember the foods that I use, like those Entenmann's cheese babka. That was really good.
Yeah, that's not even food.
Really good. I know, but I'm just saying, like, but like, I think it was after the marathon. I was the Providence one. I was thinking, okay, I've trained all this through the winter, and I could have a cheat meal. I could have anything I want. What did I have? I had broccoli because I really wanted it, and I didn't want. It took me like maybe a week before I said, you know, Leslie, you could have a piece of chocolate. And I'm not like a restrictor in that way, but I just didn't want it. And I finally
feels good to feel good.
Yeah, and I went to Buffalo, and they have this thing called sponge candy, which it's really good if you've never had it. It's like this molasses spongy thing, and they dip it in this thick chocolate by Athena's, and you bite into it, and it just kind of shrinks in your mouth. But so I had 3 pieces of chocolate, and it wasn't kind of a reward. It was just because I wanted it, and I should be able to eat whatever I want. But sometimes I want broccoli. You know what I mean? More times than not, I want broccoli.
Right. And it's like, and again, it's not we kind of said this before. It's like, it's not the food, it's our relationship to the food. Yeah. And it's, you know, if you want to have those French fries or whatever, have them, but then notice how you feel. Like, notice, like, it's this mindfulness, really. It's like this mindfulness of why are you going for that food, and how do you feel after you eat it. And like, we've gone from, you know, eating the pizza and things like that. First of all, post-race food is, that's going to be my thing that I'm going to patent. You're going to do the car yoga. I'm going to, like, revamp post-race food, because to eat a cheesy, greasy pizza after an Ironman when your body is in a state of trauma it's not even logical. Yeah. And so,
but it's cheap. I mean, today at the race,
but it's cheap.
Cinnamon buns and brownies and Rice Krispie snacks. Yikes. And then watermelon.
Watermelon.
Not say again, but I mean,
good watermelon.
Not bad choices, but I really shouldn't. Like, that's not your recovery meal.
Well, it's not a recovery. It's not going to recover the body. It's going to put the body into an immune response, and it's going to cause inflammation in the body is what it's going to do. And, but we used to do it. Like, I used to say that I used to do this. I would run through the finish line. Literally, like, I would keep running. Like, give me my medal, give me the thing, give me the cold rag, boom. And I would run right to the beer time. And that was my finish line. And then I would get the pizza, and I would just eat it and blah, blah, blah. And then I'd, like, have a headache 2 hours later because I was dehydrated. I had beer in me. And then, like, we would eat that stuff. And now, like, after a race, our go-to is some kind of, like, tortilla chips and then just like a whole mess of like black beans on it with like either fresh avocado or guacamole and salsa. So you get like the salt, you're getting the protein, you're getting fat, and you're getting food that your body recognizes as food.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it seems to me like this, like for you, it's just like this feeling good feels good and you want to feel good.
You know, I mean, I do remember when I was not eating well, thinking it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter. Like if you have a piece of pizza or 2 or 6, it just, the effect is the same. Like you're big, you're going to be bigger. I mean, what's the difference in a way? And it's easy to get in that mindset, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very self-sabotaging mindset.
But when you're in, bad relationships or, stress, I mean, it makes logical sense. But I mean, again, it seems like a lifetime ago, but again, it wasn't so long ago in some respects. And I don't have like this fear of gaining the weight back. I don't in a way. But I still have the clothes that I wore to my first half marathon. I don't know why I have still hung on to those things, but.
So do you feel like it was just like this lifestyle, like you kind of shifted your lifestyle in this sport and kind of the weight loss came from this new lifestyle?
It was more conscious than that. I mean, I wanted to be like, when I started with my new nutritionist, I wanted to be fabulous by 50 because I had put a few pounds back on when I had injuries. Like last year, 2015, I had a hamstring injury, but
oh, that's a tough one.
It was awful.
That one takes its
and it was
time. Oh yeah.
2014 was the hamstring, then 2015 was the hip, and it just was not good. But yeah, it's been conscious in terms of wanting to do better for myself, you know, and just I mean, I tease with it a lot. I mean, it's easy for a type A kind of person to get really obsessed about things, and I try to check myself with not going over the deep end on it. But again, going back to my old way of eating, my old lifestyle, it's not even fathomable at this point. Like I'm a totally different person than I was back then.
Yeah. But she's given you so much perspective to now inspire and help others.
Yeah. That's what I say. I mean, people say, I don't want to see my fat photos. I'm like, I put them up on Facebook every now and then. That is me. Like most people who've lost a lot of weight, they'll tell you, I look in the mirror and I still see that person. Whether it's like the physical body, like sometimes you'll see yourself and you'll see yourself as really thin and you're like, really? Like I don't see myself. I see the person who I was still. And
do you like when you look in the mirror?
A lot of days I still, like when I start, every time I go to a start line, even this morning I went with the start, I'm looking around checking out the competition, thinking what they're thinking, oh, she's no competition, she's the fat girl, like on the line. And
you are not the fat girl. I'm looking at you right now in that cute little dress. You are so not the fat girl.
Well, that's how I feel. That's how I perceive myself.
Yeah.
At any start, I'm thinking, well, they're not going to take me seriously.
Do you think that's a motivator for you?
It totally is a motivator. It's like I love putting the big A on my calf, and people are like, "What?
Make it bigger. I want a capital."
Exactly. But again, that's my own personal insecurities. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you see them, and you're channeling them in in a way that is bringing you more health. And it's bringing you a lot of hardware in the hallway. Yeah.
But it's great to have a sense of community, too, with a bunch of people who get it. Really. There's a bunch of women on the page who've also had like weight loss surgery. That was not my path, but that's whoever, chooses that works for them. But having a resource for, can you imagine being a triathlete with having dietary restrictions? Like you can only eat a cup of food at a time. Like how do you fuel for that?
Yeah, how do you even do that?
Subgroup of Athena triathletes who've had weight loss surgery who they can rely on one another to to get through that and to understand that. And
you're like through this Facebook page, these people are being brought together.
Yeah. I mean, that's
amazing.
That's the best thing about this page, which
kind of just has a life of itself. It seems
totally. There's been splinter training groups in different towns. There's like Athena's in Albany. They have her own group. There's like a Ironman Athena challenge for every month. If you do a Ironman in one whole month, you pay in and you get a medal. It's a different group, but my point is like when you have a new person join the page, I stalk their pages to make sure they're legitimate, and it's a lot of work, but it maintains the integrity of the group. So for 1,300 women, yeah, me and a few other administrators, we go through the ropes and basically make sure that they're who they say they are. But I'll make an introduction, say, this is Jane Doe. She's from Wisconsin, and like you can see, people post so much on their page. Like they'll say, I did my first triathlon this weekend, so I'll say, this is Jane Doe from Wisconsin. She just did her first.
And people just swarm to that, right? Because they want to give the support back.
Yeah, and I steal a picture from her page and I put it on the page, and so people personalize who that person is. And the best thing that I love is when someone says, "Oh my God, I'm from Wisconsin too. Do you want to meet and have a bike ride?" Like my friend Melissa, she moved to Los Angeles from Georgia. She was feeling like she didn't know anybody, but again, there was Athenas out there who said, "I'm from Los Angeles. Let's get together and let's go on a bike ride. Let's go for a run. Let's go do a Tough Mudder." And for me, again, it goes back to that first half marathon where I felt like no one got me. Like I was the only black person, fat girl at the back of the bus kind of a thing. And when people on the page get together and they post pictures of themselves and they say, "Leslie, the four of us got together because of you, because of this page and this group, and thank you so much." And for me, that's it gives me life. It really, it's what it's all about, because it's like coming full circle, because I'm like, okay, now you don't have to be who I was and feel. I'm getting emotional about it. Like you don't have to feel like I felt that day.
Yeah,
it's
you're doing a really beautiful thing for a lot of people, and
they don't realize how much I get from them. Like they're like it's a two-way street. Like
of
people
course.
are like, "You're so fantastic." I'm like, no, it's us as a group. We're cohesive, and just I can't say enough.
Yeah, and that's that deep connection that we all have, right? It's that deep connection that we all have. And then you start to see people believing in themselves, and you start to see people coming together in different areas and believing in each other. And it's like, keep asking yourself that question, like, believe in yourself. Keep asking yourself, like, why can't I? Or I can. It's like this phrasing, like, I can. Yeah. Believe in myself and keep that.
But the going gets tough. Like you just have a whole support system to rely on. Like, I mean, everyone has, demands, like families, babies, jobs. Like, and it's hard. It's hard to balance. And the easy thing would be to be like, I'm just not going to.
Yeah, I'm just not going to do it. And then, of course, and then on top of it, you have somebody saying you're too fat to run, which is, and I really believe that people don't know the power of their words. And, being somebody who is, has been in a very happy marriage for a long time, the things that people have said to me about not having children, I don't know if they realize how powerful their words are, telling me that I'm never going to know joy in this life, or that I'm never going to fulfill my purpose as a woman, and that what a shame that you have never had children. And I've been like, okay, like, I don't know, maybe I haven't been really okay all the time, but I always just think that they just don't know the power of their words, that I'm missing out, all of those things. And who's to say that I didn't try and I couldn't?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that nobody's ever asked.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I am you in that sense that, people have said things to me that have been really sharp and cutting, and people very close to me, but I look at them in a way that they don't understand the weight of those words. And it's how do I relate to those words? I know I can stand on my 2 feet and, know what I've gone through, or the choices I've made, and where I am right now. And that all of those things have brought me right now to you sitting here at this table. Yeah. And this is the only moment that matters, right? Yeah. Like, what are we going to do? What are we bringing to this moment? And what are we going to do moving forward? And that's what it's all about. And everything that happened before makes us who we are right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So if you had, we've been going for a little while here. It's been awesome, but I think this is a good place to kind of wrap it up. So I'm going to ask you if you've got one thing to say to that person who, is maybe like, gosh, I wish I could do something like that, but.
I would say leap, jump. Just try. I mean, you will never know if you will fail if you don't try. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a whole lot of fun. Just testing your limits and just seeing like pushing yourself beyond. You have people ask me like, what's your next race? Like, what are your goals? I don't set up goals like that. It's just kind of like, that's kind of putting a limit on your potential if you have a goal. Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean.
So it's kind of like just train and be ready and see what happens. You just never know. And so for that person who would say, I would just say believe and have pride in yourself. So if you believe in yourself and respect yourself, others will do that too, and it will build you up and it'll keep you going. And that's really what for me, that's what it's all about. Believe in yourself and just put out positive energy and
let that be your fuel.
Yeah.
Because anything is possible, and you've seen it, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I've done it, and so have you.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for this. This has been fun.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
This is so fun. I love it. And just talk about connection and community. This is bringing us, probably never would I have come here and sat and had this wonderful conversation with you. So thank you, Leslie, so much. So any Athenas out there who are listening, how would they get in touch with you on the Facebook page?
It's called Athena Triathletes and Athena Alumna. You don't have to be an Athena currently, just be a supporter. If you request to join the page, we will check you out and we will approve your request.
Background check, make sure you're legit.
Exactly. We have no haters, no drama. But that's basically it. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty accessible if anyone's interested.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And it seems like you're riding the high vibe whether you know it or not. You little yogi triathlete, you.
Namaste.
All right, namaste. I love it. Namaste. That was it, my conversation with Leslie Battle. Let us know what you think. Send us comments and feedback and keep the questions and topics for future episodes coming. We are on iTunes now, so you can just subscribe and then we're going to come to you every Friday with a new episode. So you don't even have to think about it. It will just get downloaded right to your iPhone. We are working on something with Android phones. BJ takes care of that, so just look for news about that in future episodes. And we are Yogi Triathlete at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So definitely follow us, have your friends follow us, and your family follow us. And whatever you do, keep riding the high five.